A very useful feature of Anime Studio Pro is the ability to import 3D files into Anime, yet render them like they were drawn in the program itself. Really nice little feature. There are many reasons you would want to do this. If you're building an environment or there's some complex shape you don't want to actually draw inside the program, then 3D is a nice match. There's a ton of free 3D content online, and it makes good sense to utilize some of that if you can. Let's go ahead and begin by coming to our import options under the File pull-down menu. There are two ways to import content. One that obviously says 3D, and it goes immediately to props, and you see it's pre-populated with items. This is the stock content that comes with the program. There's also a little section on textures, which get mapped to the 3D content, which is made up of little triangles and squares in 3D space. The other option, not counting Poser, which we'll get to in another movie, is the OBJ format, also known as the Wavefront file format. It's one of the oldest 3D formats out there online, and virtually all programs read it. This is what you need to do. So when you're looking for 3D content, it has to be the .obj format. I'll click this. If you have access to the working files, you can click on the object. Now, there is a file that goes with, especially if there's materials connected to it, and that is the .mtl material. It simply tells the programs where to apply color, where to apply textures on this actual object itself. I'll double click on that, and this doesn't look like a chair at all. There is no standard scale to bring 3D content from one program to another. Therefore, you kind of have to do a best guess to get it to work well. What I need to do now, with the layer tool selected over here in my tools palette, is come in and adjust the scale of this layer. Notice it has an X, Y, and Z axis, so I will create the same numeric change in all three areas. And let's go with something like 0.03. And I'll tab to the next area, and then tab again and enter the same value. Now we have something that looks like a chair. The 3D file, when it's exported, just like the 2D workspace, has an origin, a point that is the center of the object. And right now, for the exported content, that center is right here. There's a little red dot. If I want to change this, I need to grab the layer tool here and simply click and drag down. If I want to turn the chair, then I come over here to my rotate tool between X and Y. I'll hold the Shift key to confine the rotation perfectly along the Y-axis or perfectly along the X-axis if I want it. You can get different views, and you'll notice something here. There's a bunch of dark lines all over the chair, and there's some on the floor. What is this? The space or the objects are made up of triangles and squares, and the program is trying to draw those thinking you want them. There's many times you don't. To change that, you can come over to Chair Object, double click on this to get the layer options, come to 3D options, and we will turn off silhouettes and creases, and click Apply. There's some other options here. It looks like maybe the chair is being lit in their shadows. This is all trickery. It's not really happening. There is no lighting and shading inside of Anime Studio Pro. If you would like your objects to look like they're casting shadows, that process needs to be applied to the textures before the object is imported into the scene. It's a process called baking, which I won't get into here. Just look for files that have baked textures if that's what you want. We also have some shading options here. There is smooth. If I click apply, we'll see what that looks like. I can say, you know what, I don't want any type of shading at all. Click apply, and we just get a pure flat color view. And then there's kind of an artsy hatched one here that we can click apply and see, well, it looks a little bit sketchy. Really depends on the format that you want. I'll leave it with smooth at the moment and click apply. Now let's go to tune. It's easier to see. And there we go, and choose OK. This is nice because there are complex things that are much faster to build in 3D if you have access to one of those programs. Even Google SketchUp will export out to certain formats that you can use in here. So it's really nice. The other thing is you may have objects that are very complex and you don't want to take the time to draw them. Let's go ahead and import a new object, a new 3D object, and we'll import ATV. Same thing here with the scaling. We're going to have to reduce the scale of this down. Let's go to something like 0.01. And now we see an ATV in here. I Go ahead and move this layer down. Grab the rotate XY axis and move this around so we can see it. Now this has the lines on it as well. So let me go ahead and turn those off. Double click on the layer, 3D options, turn off silhouettes and creases, choose apply. That's a look I can use. And this way we've got an object in our scene that if we want to animate around it, we can actually change the orientation of it and never have to redraw it in all its different perspectives. It's a fantastic way to work with 3D content in your scene, yet have it render like it's 2D content.